Okay, today we are meeting Dan and Erika from Have Butter Will Travel. Thank you so much to both of you for joining me and for being part of the summit.
Thanks for having us. We're so excited to be part of it. You know, with all the other people involved, it's like, what are we doing here?
And just in case you don't know, I'm Dan and that's Erika. They're kind of named
I
the
know. Well, many people have follow you guys and have really been inspired by your low carb journey. But there may be a few people listening that haven't come across you. So are you able to share, both of you, a little bit about, just who you are, and then that'll probably flow really nicely into why you're so passionate about low carb.
Okay, well, I'm Erika, and I guess why I'm into, low carb is that my whole life, like a lot of people, I've struggled with my weight and been on every imaginable diet, multiple times each one as well. And I've never been able to really manage my weight. And then I found the Diet Doctor website, and that was kind of my gateway into low carb. And there's so much amazing resource on that website that I just dove right into all the science behind it and everything. And Dan came home from work one day and I'm like, we're doing this tomorrow.
That happened like every few months. But this was the one that stuck long term. I mean, we've been low carb for nearly 4 years. So I don't think there's anything else that we could say we've done for 4 years in terms of eating a specific way.
Yeah, and I think for me, we've lost about 95 kilos between us. But I think for me as well, it's been the improvement in other aspects of my life. Like before I'd even lost a significant amount of weight, the kind of joint pain and everything that I was suffering with, which, as I have learned since, was probably from inflammation to the food I was eating. Like the relief that I got from that, and my sleep improving within like weeks and months of starting, even before I'd lost, a significant amount of weight, for that to happen. That's what's just like, wow, like, the change in just how I was feeling was amazing.
And Dan, you didn't have a choice?
Yeah, pretty much. I will say, it's so much easier when the whole household does it together.
We are lucky in that respect.
We're lucky that both of us have embraced this lifestyle together, and we've both supported each other. I feel like that has really made a massive difference to our ability to make it a lifestyle.
So you didn't yourself, there was no sort of health issues or anything like that? Like,
I didn't have any. I can't even think back to the start of 4 years ago.
Yeah, it's true.
I didn't have a lot of health issues or anything like that, but I definitely needed to lose weight. And I feel so much better, and you feel clearer in your own head. You honestly, when you've lived this way for so long, you really forget what it used to be like.
And if you have times where you're perhaps eating a bit more carbs than you normally would, you're like, oh yeah, this is what it's like to be tired, and you just don't feel on your game or something. You're like, oh God, that's what I used to feel like all the time.
What probably changed a lot for me was my moods were a lot more stable. There was much less kind of swinging, kind of up and down. Would you agree with that?
So as much as we kind of went into this for the weight loss, I think it was all the other benefits that we probably enjoyed a lot more, and that's what's really helped us like be consistent with it.
Yeah, fabulous. So is it obviously, your personal changes and how it's been for you that inspired you to start Have Butter Will Travel?
Yeah, well, we were so excited, at the start, you're so excited, you just want to tell everybody about it, but we didn't really share much with our families and things because, it can be difficult for people to understand as well. So we just wanted to show people what we were doing so that, because I think sometimes people think, oh, keto, that's crazy and restrictive. But we just thought, how about we just show people what we're eating, and like it's healthy, delicious food. that anyone can eat. It's not like diet food, and kind of lead by example. And then also it kind of helps us with like a bit of accountability as well.
Because you've got such a huge following. You know, is it because I have Butter Will Travel, and then you guys are the moderators of is it Aussie Low Carb community as well?
Yeah, yes. So that's our Facebook group. So we have, so on our website we have like hundreds of recipes and articles with like grocery hauls and all sorts of information. And then we also have our YouTube channel, which is like the fun part that we enjoy, making videos.
And I think the appeal is we're just normal people who have done it.
Yeah.
And people can kind of
relate.
Yeah, people can relate to the struggles that we've been through and the struggles that continue to be there.
Yeah. And so, like with this summit, there's so many, you know, amazingly educated professionals and everything talking about, you know, different aspects of low carb. And I love that. And that's so informative. But I guess what our specialty is like, okay, so what do I actually do? How do I actually incorporate this and like make my family not hate me? So I want to share like a practical, like, you know, this is what you can have, and like these are healthy swaps you can make and that type of thing with our session.
And even though we don't have kids, a lot of our recipes are very family friendly. Like you can easily put them on the table and everyone will eat them. We feed our family and friends with these when they come over and no one knows the difference.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you just touched on it then, but do you want to share a little bit more about what you will be sharing in the summit?
So it's more, our focus is how to incorporate keto or low carb into your everyday life in the kitchen. So what you can do in the kitchen. So some of the things we go over are the kind of easy low carb swaps. So things like subbing out the rice, subbing out the pasta with things like cauliflower rice and zucchini noodles. They're quite easy things to swap out.
Yeah, and also just like some really easy, quick meal options, because I think sometimes it can be confronting if you're trying to change what you're eating and you're like, oh, but I don't have hours to spend whipping up, you know, all of these different recipes, and it can become overwhelming. So we wanted to try and provide, okay, here's like super easy, quick, you know, dinner that's going to be low carb and delicious.
Well, fantastic. I think that's going to be you know, hugely helpful, because I know it can be so overwhelming. I mean, you guys have been doing this for 4 years. It's hard, I know, to remember, but has what you eat evolved over this time? Have you felt that you've, you know, I guess played around with things a lot, or have you kind of just stuck to the same sorts of things? How's it worked for?
No. Stuck to the same sort of things, have we? It's funny, I guess at the start we probably we ate a lot of similar things, and we ate a lot of vegetables. Like, I guess we felt like we had to replace everything that we'd had before. So it was like if we were having something and rice or pasta, we would have to have the substitute for that. And then it kind of evolves to like, well, I probably don't even need those things. And then we've tried periods of where we've done like zero carb or carnivore, and then so we're always kind of tweaking what we're doing, trying different things. And then, you know, when we're on holidays, we're perhaps more low carb, and then when we're at home in our normal routine, we're probably, you know, a bit stricter with our carbs. So we're kind of changing all the time.
Yeah, and we've had times where we track for a period and then we mainly don't track, but sometimes we do. It's very kind of, it adjusts over time for sure. For us, it has never been exactly the same for that whole 4 years. It's evolved for sure, because it needs to be like sustainable. And for it to be sustainable for us, it definitely can't be the exact same food every day of the week for 4 years. But for some other people, that works.
Yeah, exactly.
So our biggest key point always is you have to find what works for you.
And that's, I think, the difficult part when people come to low carb, because they just want somebody to say, okay, eat X, Y, Z, this for lunch, this for dinner, and you're good to go, and you'll lose your 20 kilos in 20 weeks, and that's it. And it's like, it doesn't work like that. Like, it's, the success thing, you've seen the meme where it's like the success of weight loss is like this, but really it's,
like that, exactly.
Work out. And maybe some people go, oh, I'm loving all these cheese and cream and stuff. Maybe dairy doesn't really work for me though, and I have to have a period without that to see what it's like. So there's definitely a lot of, I think, tweaks you need to do, and you're the only one who can figure that out for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I see with a lot of my clients, everyone wants to sort of get the menu, and this is what you got to do, and go and do it, and yeah, that's right. But also too, what we have to understand, especially if we're coming from a place where we're metabolically unhealthy, our body is going to focus on stuff that we know, not really what we want to focus on first. So, we're looking at our thighs and all that sort of stuff, but it doesn't care about that so much. It's going to be, looking at all the organ stuff. So it's going to be taking stuff and doing a lot of healing before it might necessarily show up. But I always say, look for the feeling and look for the changes in all that stuff that you said. Like, it's almost like, to me, the weight loss is the side effect, like, of getting all this other stuff going. And you can't really explain that until you have to really experience it, but once you see it, it's kind of like seeing that side, it's hard to go back.
Definitely. Yeah, for sure.
So you guys, so Have Butter Will Travel is, obviously we're into a lot of traveling, not so much at this point. Hopefully we'll all be able to get back into that soonish. But is that how you, with your blog, did you share a lot of tips around how to do this traveling? Because I do know that can be very challenging, for women when they do go away with their family or their girlfriends or whatever, to try and, not feel guilty about having, some cocktails or champagne or, a dessert or something like that.
Very early on, we did a series of articles around how to manage different travel situations. So we did like a cruise and all the things that work really well on a cruise, and some of the struggles that you might face when you go on a cruise. So we did cruising, road trips,
long haul
how
flights.
To eat like low carb on a flight, like a long haul flight. So there's quite a few of those articles on our website, and they're really good resources if you are looking to travel, to kind of get your head in the right space, because I think that's all it is. It's just kind of putting yourself in the right space to set some parameters around what you want to achieve when you're traveling. And then we're never strict when we travel, because we know that will end in tears. But
yeah, we just try and be conscious about the decisions that we're making, I guess. So it's like if we're in, Florence in Italy, and we want to have a pistachio gelato, and that's part of the experience, that's okay as a one-off, but it's not like that then snowballs into, other, rubbishy things. Like, we just try and make a conscious decision that's a one-off, and, it's part of the experience. And that's what's important to us, because we really love our traveling. But we also share on our YouTube channel, we share a lot of our travels, and we show what we're eating and how we're navigating, in different countries. And
Japan was interesting.
Japan was the most challenging, and Hong Kong. But in Europe, there's such beautiful cheeses and meats. It's easy. Lots of seafood, you're fine.
And in Asian countries, there's much more of a language barrier around trying to negotiate subbing things out and that kind of thing. So we try to not worry about that. We just try to pick the best choice on the menu on the day.
Yeah, I think that's such a great way to think of it. We're very similar. My husband's Greek, and like, we were in Greece September last year, and there was no way I was going to be there and not have spanakopita, and which is just so, it's just to experience it. And the same, and same sort of thinking around all of that it is part of the holiday, part of the culture. And it's not like I had it every day. It's not like I then, thought I was a bad person for having it. It's just, I had it, I enjoyed it as the experience, but of course, coming back home was just straight back onto my normal way of eating, and
exactly. And it's like, you don't want your holiday to be impacted, because you're so stressed about, oh, what's in that, and you're double checking everything. Like, you want to enjoy it, obviously make the best choices you can, but you also don't want to be stressed around that, or like, sorry, our cats. Or like, berating yourself.
She has to get on the screen always. Sorry.
Oh, that's gorgeous. That's gorgeous.
I think that's part of the sustainability, like having those things. Otherwise, if you don't, and then you're like, oh, I'm going to the US for 3 weeks and it's just like a carb bender, it's very hard then to come back to, normality, and you're not going to enjoy your holiday because you're probably going to feel a bit yucky as well.
Yeah, that's right. So on that question, do you think low carb is sustainable? Obviously, doing it for 4 years, you've made it sustainable. But there's obviously, as you say, it's about making it work for you and you as an individual and you and your family. And is that right?
I understand at the start, you're just like never having bread. Like, if you're someone who's had sandwiches for lunch every day your whole life, like, I get it. It's crazy. But it becomes less important over time. And then I guess there are like low carb substitute recipes for most things. So if you want to, have a low carb wrap, there's options out there. So you don't have to feel like you're missing out on things. I guess it's just about making smarter choices.
Yeah, I would say it's sustainable if you can find out what works for you and not try to be doing what everyone else tells you to do.
That's a good point.
That's the key. It's sustainable if you can make it work for you.
Yeah, I completely agree. Well, so honoured to have you on board, and your presentation is going to be fantastic. And there is also a little gift that you are generously donating to all Summit participants. And do we want to wait until they register to find out, or do you want to share?
Have to register to find out. For sure.
You're not going to want to miss out, guys. So register.
That's right. Well, it's lovely to talk to you guys. Thank you again, and can't wait to see what your presentation is.
Thank you so much for having us, Tracy.
Thanks, Tracy.
Thanks.
Bye.